has happened in Flat Stanley so far? Ahaji, what's something that happened?
Flat.
He got flat. Does anyone remember how he got flat? What happened to him? Destiny, what happened to him?
This whiteboard, something fell on him and made him flat.
Yeah, the bulletin board, it's kind of like a whiteboard. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. A bulletin board fell on him and made him flat. Did it hurt when it made him flat?
No.
It didn't, right? He was asleep. He was more annoyed that his brother came in to wake him up. Once he was flat, what did he do? What did he figure out he could do? Go ahead, Ella.
He can go through tiny spaces, go under the door and into the little vent.
Yeah, so like the grates on the ground.
To get a ring.
Yep, his mom dropped the ring down in the grate and he was able to go down with shoelaces tied to him. And then, how does his brother feel about him being flat? So we only talked about it a little bit, but it said how his brother felt. Luke, go ahead.
Jealous.
Yeah, a little jealous, right? Stanley can go underneath doors, and he can't. And he kept trying, but it didn't really work, right? Because do you think you could fit under a door right now?
No.
Probably not. I think you would just kind of bonk your head, right? All right. Where else did Stanley go? Because he went somewhere, right? Thank you. Go ahead, Timmy. His brother, because his brother's not flat. So his brother was kind of jealous that he couldn't go under doors like Stanley could. But where did Stanley go? Go ahead, Destiny.
He went.
It's okay. It feels like forever since we read this last. Does anyone remember where he went? Go ahead, Jake.
I know. He went to the doctor.
He did go to the doctors right after he got flat. He went to the doctor.
Right above you, that's like there's a bigger bulletin board, but that's where
You got it.
he
Jake.
went to go visit his friend's house in California.
Yeah, he went to go visit his friend in California. Oh, sit down. It's okay. Awesome. And how did he get to California? Did he take a plane? Did he take a train?
He went
How did he get there? Luke, how did he get there?
in a box.
Yeah, in like a little envelope, right? And his friend sent him back in an envelope, right? So can you get sent to California in an envelope? No, but he can.
Only in a box.
All right, so let's see here. This is chapter 3. So we're on chapter 3 now, and it's called Stanley the Kite. Mr. Lambchop had always liked to take the boys out with him on Sunday afternoons to the museum or roller skating park, but it was difficult when they were crossing streets or moving about in crowds. Stanley and Arthur would often be jostled from his side. Mr. Lambchop worried about speeding taxis or the hurrying people, how they might accidentally knock them down. Mr. Lambchop discovered that he could roll up Stanley without hurting him at all. He would tie a piece of string around Stanley to keep him from unrolling and make a little loop in the string for himself. It was as simple as carrying a parcel, and he could hold on to Arthur with the other hand. So what he did is he rolled him up like a piece of paper, tied a string around him so he wouldn't unroll, and he carries him kind of like a briefcase. So here's a picture. I'll come around and show the pictures once I'm done reading too, okay? Yes, Graham?
We did it for our brain.
I know, I have to figure it out. All right. I'm going to show you guys at the end. At the end, I'm going to show all the pictures, okay? So he carries him around like a little briefcase of rolled up, okay?
My dad?
All right, eyes up here, guys. Remember, raise your hand. All right. Stanley didn't mind being carried because he never much liked to walk either. Arthur didn't like to walk either, but he had to. Remember, Arthur's his brother. Right now, I'm going to show you pictures at the end, okay? Arthur didn't like to walk either, but he had to. It made him mad. Remember how we were talking about his brother getting jealous that he couldn't go under doors? Now his brother's kind of upset because Stanley doesn't have to walk to the park or the roller skating rink or the museum. His dad carries him. So now Arthur's kind of getting mad that he has to walk, but Stanley doesn't.
Well, because he's flat and he could go away.
Well, let's see. On Sunday afternoon in the street, they met Ralph Jones, an old college friend of Mr. Lambchop's. Well, George, I see you've bought some wallpaper, Mr. Jones said. Going to decorate your house, I suppose? Wallpaper, said Mr. Lambchop. Oh, no, this is my son Stanley. He undid the string and Stanley unrolled. Hold the water bottle still, guy. He undid the string and Stanley unrolled. How do you do, Stanley said. Nice to meet you, young feller, the man said. George. He said to Mr. Lambchop, that boy is flat. Smart too, Mr. Lambchop said. Stanley is third from the top of his class at school. Phooey, said Arthur. This is my younger son, Arthur, said Mr. Lambchop. And he will apologize for his rudeness. So what happened there was the college friend met Stanley, and the dad was saying, oh, this is my son Stanley. He's third top of his class. He's so smart. He's also flat. And Arthur went, So he was kind of getting upset. Why do you think Arthur was getting upset? Hunter, why do you think Arthur was getting upset? Yeah, they weren't saying anything about him. It was all about Stanley. You sit down. So Mr. Lambchop said, this is the younger son, Arthur, and he will apologize for his rudeness. Arthur could only blush and apologize. Mr. Lambchop rolled Stanley up again, and they set out for home. It rained quite hard while they were on the way. Stanley, of course, hardly got wet at all, just around the edges, but Arthur got soaked. Late that night, Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop heard a noise out in the living room. They found Arthur lying on the floor near the bookcase. He had piled a great many books of the encyclopedias on top of himself. Put some more on me, Arthur said. When he saw them, don't just stand there, help me. So here's a picture I'll show you guys after. But Arthur is laying in front of the bookcase, and he's taken all of these books. I will come around, Timmy. Go sit down. I will come around. You'll see all the pictures at the end, okay? So he's piling all these huge books like encyclopedias and dictionaries on top of himself. What do you think he's doing? Gina, what do you think he's doing?
So he could be flat.
Oh, let's see. So he told his parents, don't just stand there, help me. Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop sent him back to bed, but the next morning they spoke to Stanley. Arthur can't help being jealous, they said. Be nice to him. You're his big brother after all. The next Sunday, Stanley and Arthur went to the park by themselves. The day was sunny, but windy too. And many older boys were flying beautiful, enormous kites with long tails made in all colors and rainbows. Arthur sighed. Someday, he said, I'll have a big kite, and I'll win a kite flying contest and be famous like everybody else. Nobody knows who I am these days. Stanley remembered what his parents had said. He went to a boy whose kite was broken and borrowed a large spool of string. You can fly me, Arthur, he said. Come on. He attached the string to himself and gave Arthur the spool to hold. He ran lightly across the grass, sideways to get up speed. Then he turned to meet the breeze. Up, up, up went Stanley, being a kite. He knew just how to manage on the gust of winds. His face full into the wind if he wanted to rise, and let it take him from behind when he wanted speed. He had only to turn his thin edge to the wind carefully a little at a time, so that it did not hold him. And then he would slip gracefully down towards the earth again. Arthur let out all the string, and Stanley soared high above the trees, a beautiful sight in his red shirt and blue trousers against the pale blue sky. Raise your hand. Would you want to be used as a kite if you were flat? Mm-hmm. He's all the way up in the sky, and he learned how to... Yep, just raise your hand. Just raise your hand. Okay. So he got to be a kite today. Everyone in the park stood still to watch. Stanley swooped right and then left in long matched swoops. He held his arms by his side and then zoomed at the ground like a rocket and curved up again towards the sun. He side-slipped and circled and made figure eights and crossed in stars. Nobody had ever flown that way. Stanley Lambchop was the first to fly that day, and probably no one ever will again. Shh. Timmy, you gotta be quiet so I can read, okay? After a while, of course, people grew tired of watching, and Arthur got tired of running about with the empty spool. Stanley went right on, though, showing off. 3 boys came up to Arthur, invited him to join them for a hot dog and some soda pop. Arthur left the spool wedged in the fork of a tree. He did not notice, while he was eating his hot dog, that the wind was blowing the string and tangling it about in the tree. So when he says like the fork in a tree, so there was like a little branch like this, and he stuck the spool in there that's attached to Stanley, and he walked away to go get a hot dog. But while he walked away, it started getting tangled in the tree. The string got shorter and shorter and shorter, but Stanley did not realize how low he was until leaves brushed his feet. And then it was too late. He got stuck in the branches. 15 minutes passed before Arthur and the other boys heard his cries and climbed up to free him. Stanley would not speak to his brother that evening, and at bedtime, even though Arthur apologized, he was still mad. Would you be mad if your brother left you in a tree for 15 minutes? Yeah. Alone with Mr. Lambchop in the living room, Mrs. Lambchop sighed and shook her head. You're at the office all day having fun. You don't realize what I go through with the boys. That's very difficult. Kids are like that, Mr. Lambchop said. Phases. Be patient, dear. And that is the end of chapter 3. So who would like to tell me what happened in chapter 3? Graham, what happened?
He tried to make himself flat.
Yep, so his brother Arthur tried to make himself flat. Why did he try and make himself flat? Why was Arthur trying to make himself flat? Josiah, why was he trying to make himself flat?
Because he was jealous.
Yeah, he was jealous. He wanted to be flat like Stanley. Everyone was looking at Stanley, right? Go ahead, Destiny.
Did he go to school? Because if he goes to school, he will get grades.
Oh, that's a good point. Oh, eyes up here, guys. So Destiny said, do they go to school? Because going to school flat might be kind of hard, right? I'm thinking this is during summer because the mom just said she's at home with the kids all day. So I think it's summertime.
I think he told,
All right. What else happened in this chapter? So Arthur tried to make himself flat. What else happened? Hunter, what else happened? Yeah, so he was Stanley was being flown as a kite, and then they kind of got bored, right? His brother got bored, and the people watching got bored. So his brother Arthur just stuck the spool in a tree, and then poor Stanley got stuck in the tree for 15 minutes till his brother came to help him.
Wow.
Yes, Gia.
And I think Mr. Ramtrop told him what happened to his sister. And when I think it was Arthur was being disrespectful to his brother because he left him in a tree. And without realizing, he's not actually flying a kite, he's flying his brother.
Yeah, so his brother wasn't kind of paying attention to him the right way. Yeah, so it's hard because Arthur's jealous, and Omari, put that away. If that comes off, I'm not taping it back on. Alright, so Stanley was his dad asked him to be nice to his brother because his brother doesn't understand and he can't be flat like Stanley and he's kind of feeling left out. But did Stanley really kind of make his brother feel involved when he was showing off being a kite? No, he was still showing off that he was flat, so his brother kind of said, and walked away. So these brothers aren't getting along too well, so we'll have to see what happens. All right, I'm going to come around and show you the pictures, okay?
Wait, what is